everything. They think that because of what the large, because of the size of Libya, because of what they are talking day and night about tribes, about divisions, about cities, they think they're going to go to the chaos. We are very organized. We have committees everywhere in Libya, and this is our oil, and we're going to protect it, not because we'd like to protect it for the West. We are protecting our wealth for the generation and future children. What I'd like to make sure about it, every city or area has been liberated, is controlled and organized by committee of people who led the revolution in Libya, who liberated all the land in Libya, can manage, can lead, and can do a good job. There is no need that anybody interfere from outside. We can say to the Italians, you support Gaddafi, and I think that's not good news for them.
In Paris, Nouri al-Mismari, you mentioned that the international community has not done enough, or they've not responded quickly enough. The United States has confirmed sanctions against Libya. The UN Security Council has tabled it. They're deliberating. Might sanctions not serve to strengthen Gaddafi rather than weaken him?
Well, first of all, I would like to precise that, to be honest, thanks to the President of France, Mr. Nicolas Sarkozy, and President Obama, the United States of America, for what they have done and what they have said against Gaddafi. And I would like to appreciate also the speech of Mrs. Hillary Clinton. But I would like to be honest, the Security Council was a bit late. And if it was not thanks to the speech of His Excellency Mr. Abdurrahman Shagam, our former Minister of Foreign Affairs, and he is now the permanent representative of Libya in United Nations, that he explained to them what was happening in his country and what was going on. I don't think so they have done something strong. But what we need now, it's need the support of these countries more to help the people, to stop everything. First of all, they have to stop any flights coming from Africa to Libya. Because if you have heard, it was officially declared by Kenyan government that there are some mercenaries being flown to Kenyan mercenaries flown to Libya and other parts of Africa. Meanwhile, I presume that the Libyan pilots will not bomb by all means the Libyan citizens. And I think, and I am quite sure of my sources, that there are some foreign pilots using our airplanes and fighting with the fighters over Libya. This is one thing. Now, it will, what happened at the end, it will weaken him up no more. But we know the stronger. We need the help to Tripoli. We need the help to Benghazi to survive and try to help them, because they need medicine, they need food, they need everything. And the only borders they can get through is now the Egyptian border, because all that area, the eastern area, is controlled by the People's Revolutionary people. And this is why I suggest that all helps and all aids, medicine and food, this has to, and especially milk for the children, this has to go through the Egyptian border, and I hope that the Egyptian government will understand that and let it go through.
Okay, passionate appeal there, gentlemen. We have, unfortunately, run out of time. Thank you very much to our guests, Nouri al-Mismari, Mahmoud al-Shamam, and John Hamilton. And thank you so much for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. As always, we welcome your comments, your suggestions, or your questions. You can email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Bye-bye.
A new world driven by new media.
This is a very peculiar moment in media history.
analyzing the media's role in shaping modern history. The Listening Post, at this time on Al Jazeera.
The times change. The instruments evolve. The battlegrounds shift.
This is America! Our country!
But the international struggle continues.
He was murdered!
Uncompromising, hard-hitting investigations.
I can't get no justice from no one in Jamaica.
People and power, at this time on Al Jazeera.
As protests, violence, and the call for political reform spreads across the Arab world, Al Jazeera's in-depth coverage of events on the ground brings you the news as it breaks. Ongoing coverage of the Libya uprising on Al Jazeera.
Afghanistan is faced with a huge challenge.
Relations have gone really sour between us and our allies.
We have inflicted considerable damage on the enemy.
The people who make international headlines.
Ultimately, the truth will out.
They want to stop this publication of information that embarrasses them.
Make time for Sir David Frost. Frost over the world. At this time on Al Jazeera.
Behind the harsh reality of headline stories, creative forces are constantly developing. Across the globe, people use their talents, their imagination, and their vision to break down powerful barriers. From a small backroom theater challenging a despotic regime, to the courage of individuals searching for expression. With rich colors and clear voices, people communicate to a wider world. Artscape, coming soon on Al Jazeera.
Personal blogs by professional journalists. blogs.aljazeera.net.
The ring around Gaddafi tightens. Armed Libyans in the eastern city of Al-Baida threaten to march on the capital. Hello from me, David Foster. You're watching Al Jazeera's extended coverage of the uprising in Libya. Also in this programme, another city falls. Protesters in Misrata claim victory. Witnesses say government tanks are moving in. The United Nations Security Council hits Gaddafi with sanctions and threatens to go further if the bloodshed continues. And Britain launches a secret military operation to get its oil workers out of the country. We're hearing of various troop movements across Libya in different parts of the country. We're going to get more on that from our correspondents inside and on the border of Libya in just a moment. But let's first recap some of the events of the last few hours. The United Nations Security Council responding to the violence reported after days of protests. On Saturday, the UN Security Council voting unanimously in favour of sanctions against Gaddafi and his inner circle. And on Sunday, Britain's foreign minister revoking the diplomatic immunity of Gaddafi, his sons and members of his inner circle. Australia also imposing its own sanctions. Now, there are reports of government security forces abandoning some parts of the capital, Tripoli, Libya's third largest city. And this is the scene from there in Misrata in the west, reportedly in opposition hands, although there are people who say that tanks are moving from Sirte to Misrata. Libya's former justice minister has declared his intention to form a national council to control what he called liberated areas in the country's east.
We've come up with a new constitution and strategy for the implementation of democratic elections in Libya under the supervision of international organizations.
Let's go to Libya's border with Tunisia. There, hundreds of people have been fleeing the violence in Libya, and they're still camped at the border of Ras Arjir. Nazneen Mashir is there for us. Tell me about the refugees in just a moment, but first, what are you hearing about these tanks and Misrata and troop movements now?
Okay, there are two things I can tell you. First of all, what is happening close to where we are on the Libyan side. We are hearing from various sources, I cannot confirm these sources, but reports that there has been troop movement close to this border. We are also hearing about what is happening in Zawiya, which is 120 kilometers from where we are right now. Now, we understand that to the east of Zawiya, 5 kilometers to the east, there are around 45 tanks, Libyan army tanks positioned there. To the south, a family that we spoke to who tried to get out of Zawiya in the past few hours told us that there are 30 tanks to the south. To the west of Zawiya, there is a brigadier who is in control of the area, high-ranking Libyan official called Mehdi El Arabi. The problem people have with this man is they do not know whether they can go out from the west because they're not sure whether he is still pro-Gaddafi or he is with the anti-government protesters. So the situation in Zawiya right now is very quiet. People are unable to leave the city because they're basically surrounded. And what they are telling us is they fear an imminent attack.
And those people that have managed to get out, Nazanin, a lot of them have come through the area where you are. The estimate is 40,000 at that border post, maybe 100,000 overall. How are people there coping?
It is a really difficult situation, and the potential for a humanitarian crisis here is very real if the Tunisian authorities don't get some help very soon. What is happening is that thousands of Egyptians have been fleeing from this border, 10,000 on Saturday, thousands more. The problem is they have nowhere to sleep, they have nowhere to go. There aren't enough tents being set up for them, and there isn't enough movement to get them to ports and airports to be able to get them out. We understand, and we've heard in the last hour or so, 2 Egyptian ships are on their way to the port of Jerba and also Jargis, which are close to where we are, to help with this exodus, to help with this situation. But many of these people are coming here with little or no money. Most of it's been taken off them at the checkpoints that we've seen along the way. All they have really are the clothes and the luggage. They're poor people, and what is happening is the Tunisians here are getting angry at the fact that the Tunisian authorities are doing nothing about this increasing, developing migrant situation of Egyptians here on this border.
Nazanin Moshiri, thank you very much indeed. Talking there about how many people have managed to get through out of Libya into either Tunisia or into Egypt. And